It's been the most public and bitter of family feuds. 2 parents, 4 children, split across the world and splashed all over the media. The story begins with a desperate escape. Mum, Laura, flees Italy and her allegedly violent Italian husband to return home with the couple's 4 daughters. 2 years later, the Australian Federal Police arrive on the doorstep and literally drag the children onto a plane back to Italy. Watching those girls struggle against the police and scream for their mother, it all seemed so heavy-handed and so wrong. But there are 2 sides to every story, and tonight, for the first time, you'll hear what Dad's got to say. And there's a 3rd player in this sorry tale. The Australian government, which knowingly aided and abetted an international kidnap. It was a scene few Australians who saw it will ever forget. Children being torn from their mother. The dramatic finale to a tragic family split.
No! Let me go! Stop hitting me!
The girls running, and then other girls running, girls resisting, screaming, men on top of my children, pulling their arm and their hand back, and them screaming for help. I was hysterical myself. I didn't know what to do. It's police. Are they allowed to do that to kids?
Laura.
The girls have been taken. It's my world, my whole world destroyed, and I'm terrified of what's going to happen.
And the Italian father accused of psychological and physical abuse.
No, it's not true. The girl have a good relationship with me, and the girl love me. I think it's the worst period on my life, this.
And in the middle of it all, 4 innocent girls.
My name is Emily Vincenti and I'm 14 years old.
My name is Claire Vincenti and I'm 13 years old.
My name is Christine Vincenti and I'm 10 years old. My name is Lily Vincenti and I'm 9 years old.
But tonight we reveal the central role played by the Australian Embassy in Rome that made a mother's desperate plot to flee Italy possible. So what did the Australian Embassy say to you? What did they say they could do?
They said that they could assist me, and they said they would help me come back to Australia.
The Australian government is against me.
Forgivable or unforgivable?
For me, it's unforgivable. Very unforgivable.
On paper, this was a simple case, a family divided, and that division dealt with by the Italian courts just as it would have been in Australia. What makes this different, and what has probably added immeasurably to the trauma of 4 young girls for whom Italy is home, is the role of the Australian Embassy and the Department of Foreign Affairs, who helped turn a custody dispute here into an international abduction saga. It's a nightmare that began as a fairy tale. Laura Garrett was just a girl, just 15, and an exchange student when she met a boy, 16-year-old Tommaso Vincenti, in Florence.
I thought it was the most beautiful place in the world. The buildings were ancient. It was beautiful. I was really, really happy to be there.
You are in Florence, it would be very hard not to fall in love,
Yes,
I'd imagine.
I very fall in love with Laura, yes.
Tommaso and Laura were each other's first love, which blossomed when his family let her stay with them.
When you are younger, you think everything is forever, and the love is forever.
So she was very much part of your family.
Yes, yes. Laura is part of the family. My mother and my father consider Laura daughter.
Within a couple of years, Laura was pregnant and a bride. She was just 17, Tommaso 18. Well, here on your wedding day, you look very happy.
Very happy, yes. Very young also.
Very young. Tommaso's family house in rural Tuscany, the ideal setting to bring up a young family. First, there was Emily, then Claire.
The children love this place, and also my children is grow up in this place.
But 3 years into the marriage, the young couple suffered the anguish of losing their next daughter, Julianne, at just 3 months. According to Laura, their daughter's death in 2000 changed Tommaso.
He slowly started to detach himself more and more from the girls and I, to become more distant. He started to become more angry and aggressive, more abusive, more insulting.
Tommaso denies that, but despite whatever problems there were in the marriage, the couple had 2 more children over the next few years, Christine and Lillian. But you stayed in the marriage. You had 2 more daughters. Why did you do that?
I saw the Tommaso that I used to know, and I could see that he was still in there. And I hoped that he would change. I hoped it would get better.
But Tommaso claims that although Laura stuck with the marriage, she was also having an affair with one of his friends.
I think my marriage is finished in 2006 when I discovered that Laura is in love with another man. And 2 weeks later, I have lost my job. In this moment, I feel very depressed because all my point of reference is destroyed.
I didn't have an affair. I didn't have an affair. We were friends. I had told him that I wanted to leave my husband, and he kissed me, and I kissed him back. We met a couple more times after that, and I realised that I think I might have been falling for him. Then one day he asked for more, and I knocked him back, and I said, no, I can't do that.
Laura claims, along with his depression, Tommaso became violent towards her and the girls.
He's a very scary man. Anyone who's been in an abusive relationship perhaps will understand the fear that a person has over you. If they are violent and they hurt you and they're abusive, you're always scared they're going to do it again. And that's the power he's had over the girls and me.
While Tommaso strongly denies he was ever violent, he freely admits that losing his wife and then his job pushed him into clinical depression, for which he was hospitalised. Did your depression change you? Did it make you psychotic or violent?
No, never. I'm just depressed. I think it's normal in this situation to feel depressed.
In 2007, Laura moved out to an apartment in the village of Pontisieve, just down the hill from Tommaso's house. The Italian courts gave them joint custody. You did sign a consensual separation.
I did it for the girls. I did have a decision. I made my own mind up as well.
Right,
I thought, let's do this to keep it peaceful.
Right. But so as the mother of these 4 girls, who you claim were being abused, physically abused by their father,
yes,
you thought it was in their best interests for him to still have access to them.
I thought he would stop. I was so naive. I thought he would stop.
So far as Tommaso was concerned, the separation, while traumatic, was at least civil, with him sharing custody of the children with Laura. But unknown to Tommaso, Laura had contacted the Australian Embassy in Rome, starting what would be a secret 3-year campaign to flee with her children to Australia.
I went to the Australian Embassy because he was continuing to threaten me because I couldn't afford to live in the country. I was falling into depression. I had no support whatsoever, any friends or family, and my life was turning into a total wreck. I couldn't cope anymore.
Did you have any idea that Laura was making these complaints and allegations to the embassy?
No. In 3 years, from 2007 2010, I never understand what's happened. I think everything was good, and I try to stay in a normal life.
So what did the Australian embassy say to you? What did they say they could do?
They said that they could assist me. They said that all the girls needed to be Australian citizens, and they said they would help me come back to Australia.
And so began an extraordinary conspiracy to remove the children illegally from Italy without Tommaso's knowledge, proving that our internal documents from the embassy and the Department of Foreign Affairs in Canberra that we've obtained. What's being planned by Laura is nothing less than an international child abduction.
She'd been cut off from everything and everyone.
To understand this story properly, you have to meet the two other main players in this tragedy and in Laura's life. Her grandmother Carol and her mother Kate, who was the one dealing with the Department of Foreign Affairs in Canberra to orchestrate Laura's escape from Italy.
And I said, yeah, well, do it now before he starts changing his mind again.
Kate, who says she's suffering from chronic illness, originally only wanted a background role in our interview, but within minutes of our cameras rolling, she weighed in, emotional and emphatic.
He doesn't really want them, he just wants to hurt Laura. The kids are collateral damage. That's true. It's completely true.
The animosity between Tommaso and his mother-in-law began long before the marriage breakup. When you were married still, Laura's mother came to visit?
Yes, the first time I meet Kate is for my marriage. He's come to stay with us just for 2 weeks, but he stayed for 2 months.
Kate came back to Italy in 2004 with her partner, a man named Bob. Their visit can only be described as bizarre.
During this period, Kate wanted to visit the Tuscany with Bob and asked me for my car. And I have told, no, my car is impossible, I rent a car for you. And 1 month later, I have understand Bob and Kate is in Spain, not in Tuscany. And it's impossible to have a communication and...
So they're just missing?
Missing, yes. Missing, very missing.
Kate and Bob had effectively stolen the car. Tracing Tommaso and Laura's credit card, they found Kate, Bob and the car in Barcelona. What state was the car in?
The car is completely destroyed. The well is destroyed. Inside have so many type of food, trash. Everything is possible because Kate and Bob live inside the car for 2 months. And the car is in a very bad situation.
What was the police reaction?
Oh, the police is unbelievable. And I remember a policeman told me, how is this possible? A mother stole the car and put her daughter inside this problem.
She disappeared and I was very angry with her.
It's a non-story.
Yeah, hang on.
It's a
non-story.
It's a pretty extraordinary story, isn't it? Your mum comes to visit you and your husband, and she takes off with the credit card and the car.
Because they wouldn't accept my cash.
She takes off with the car. You have to track her down in Spain. Police have to pull her over. She's been living in the car.
It's extraordinary, but it's not. I'm not the one that did that, and I love my mother, and I love my grandmother, and I love my whole family, but I didn't do those things.
Fast forward 4 years, and Kate's hatred of her son-in-law is full-blown. Littered through the consular cables is allegation after allegation from Kate in Australia and her daughter Laura in Italy of Tommaso's domestic violence. The accusations made against you, Tommaso, are very, very serious. You have been accused of being a monster, really.
Yeah.
Are you an abusive and violent man?
I'm not a violent man. I never hit my children or Laura.
Ever?
Ever. I never hit Laura or my children.
She says that you threatened to kill her, that if she ever left you, you would kill her, that you would take the girls away from her.
No, it's not true. Laura told this to Australian people and Australian embassy because she looking for compassion about these people, for helping her to escape from Italy.
In response to Laura's allegations, the embassy staff did recommend she go to the Italian police, the Carabinieri, and welfare agencies. She says she did, and continued to bombard embassy officials with her accusations about Tommaso's supposed violence. We did attempt in Italy to find out, to back up your claims about your calling the social workers, calling the Carabinieri. In terms of Tommaso's violence, there is absolutely no evidence. He does not have a criminal record of any sort. And speaking to the Carabinieri, they absolutely deny that he is a violent man. They have absolutely no reports, no knowledge of your accusations.
And his mother has a lot of money and it's a very small town.
No, it's not about Giovanna, it's just about the...
Could you please
Can I answer, Mum?
Yeah. Answer, thank you.
They do know. It's a reality. It's what happened. They went up to speak to him several times.
Well, they deny that. What there is a record of is a statement by a doctor that says that you asked her to write a certificate declaring signs of trauma and physical wounds that you received from Tommaso.
Yep.
She says, to this request I responded negatively as I have never been able to diagnose on the patient any sign of violence of any kind.
I rang her and I said, you know what we've been through. We are in Australia. You know that Tommaso was violent in the past. I need some kind of a confirmation. And she said, I'm sorry, madam, I have no idea what you're talking about. And this conversation ended there. And I got off the phone and I burst into tears. And I thought, why is she doing this?
So she's lying?
Yes, she's lying.
She's lying. She's gone to the police and she's made this declaration. Do you know how serious that is?
I'm not lying.
She's lying?
Yeah.
Not once in 3 years did the Australian Embassy or officials in Canberra make any serious attempt to independently verify the allegations against Tommaso. If they had, they might have found Italian records like this from the Justice Ministry.
There are no criminal complaints, no charges of domestic violence or abuse have ever been filed against Mr. Vincenti. The Italian Welfare Office has no records of aggressive behavior against his daughters or Mrs. Garrett.
Laura also claimed she was destitute. Twice, the embassy sent representatives up here to her home in Ponte to check her claims of poverty. Both times, they found those claims to be untrue, which begs the question, why didn't they do more to check out her other allegations?
Why the Australian Embassy and the Australian Authority don't look my version of the story? Why the Australian Embassy is not come in my house or telephone with me for ask me what's happened? This is just unfair.
The Australian Embassy had every indication from Laura that she was planning to flee to Australia and stay there, including this entry.
She is very committed to returning to Australia. She advised us she was planning on going to live in Queensland with her grandmother.
Despite her clear intentions, according to the documents, incredibly, not once in 3 years did embassy staff explicitly explain to Laura the Hague Convention, an international treaty to prevent the kidnapping of children by a parent. All they did say was that she'd need Tommaso's permission to issue the children with Australian passports. Tommaso says to get his signature, she lied to him. Did you think when you signed that passport application that Laura would take the girls and never come back?
I have spoken very clearly to Laura. I have told I put in you all my trust and don't play with me. And Laura told me, no problem, it's just 1 month of holiday. You never fear about anything, trust in me. This is the word of Laura.
Within the correspondence of the embassy, it says there that you would say anything just to get him to sign those passports.
I probably would have.
She would have.
Said anything to get him to sign the passports. I probably would have done anything to protect the girls and to get away.
Did you tell the Australian embassy that you had told him that you were taking the kids just for a month's holiday?
It was never just a holiday.
I'm asking your daughter, Kate. I'm asking Laura.
When the father signed those passports, he signed the passports for permanent relocation.
After the break, the extraordinary role Australian authorities played in this incredible saga and how they knowingly assisted an international kidnapping.
They knew we were leaving permanently.
I desire to see my girl every day, and every night I have a cry.
He said, I will see you in a week. You have to come back. And I said, what are you talking about? We're not coming back.
You have been watching your daughters when they undress, and I'm going to go to the press with it.
What sort of great-grandmother are you? It is a heartbreaking story of a family torn apart. An Australian mum, Laura Garrett, and her Italian husband, Tommaso Vincenti, whose marriage disintegrates. Caught in the middle are their 4 daughters. Laura claims he's a violent child abuser and hatches an illegal plan to move the girls from their home in Italy to live in Australia. Tommaso says it was only ever supposed to be a short holiday trip. What he also didn't know was the role Australian authorities would play in Laura's scheme. They would argue that you signed the application for their passports, that you gave permission for them to leave Italy.
Yes, I remember I put my signature under the application passport because Laura convinced me for his good intention is only holiday trip with the girl.
But unknown to Tommaso, there was seemingly nothing the Australian embassy wouldn't do to help Laura leave the country with her children, right down to getting quotes for one-way airfares, providing transport to get her to the airport, giving her money for a hotel in Rome, even changing her flight when she claimed Tommaso might turn up at the last minute.
The Australian embassy knew that there was the risk of him changing his mind. That is why they changed our flights, because they knew we were leaving permanently and it was very hard to get his consent. It took a long time. And they didn't want him to stop us.
If there's anything more telling that they knew Laura's plan not to return with the children, it was the final entry in her consular case file. After 3 years of trying to get Laura and the girls out of the country, it was, in their words, case closed. Clearly, no one was expecting her back. On the 23rd of June 2010, Laura and her children flew out of Italy, literally seen off by the Australian embassy staff who'd made it possible. That one-way flight would land Laura in a criminal case of international kidnapping. Would you have been able to do what you did without the help of the Australian embassy?
Maybe not. I kind of blindly followed what the embassy said. One of the only things they said to me, and I believe we were at the airport, and one of the consular operations said, perhaps the only thing I suggest is perhaps you get some legal advice when you get back home. And I said, why? And she said, perhaps you should just get some legal advice when you get back home. And I thought, what would I need that for? And I didn't, because I didn't even know why I would be asking for it. I didn't.
So you're suggesting they knew you were breaking the law, but you didn't know you were breaking the law?
Well, I don't believe I was breaking the law because he consented at the time of signing the passports.
Back in Italy, Tommaso waited for Laura and his daughters to return. Then a week before they were due home, Laura called him.
And this is a scary call because she told me, Tommaso, prepare you for bad things. I don't come back in Italy with the girl. I have an heart attack in this moment. I remember my word. I told Laura, Laura, you must come back with the girl in Italy.
He said, I will see you in a week. You have to come back. And I said, what are you talking about? We're not coming back. And it all started.
How did he react?
He said that I had to get on the flight or watch out. He was angry.
He was angry. How did the girls react to being taken to Australia?
The girls were very happy to be here. The girls were very happy to be here.
Did they know that they were moving permanently to Australia?
My eldest daughters knew that they were moving permanently, yeah.
Not the younger ones?
No.
What did they think was, excuse me, what did they think was going on?
We hadn't discussed it with the little ones, really.
I desire to see my girl every day, and every night I have a cry because my girl miss too much, and is 2 years very, very hard for me. I think is the worst period on my life, this.
The Australian government, through its embassy in Rome and officials in Canberra, had helped engineer the abduction of Tommaso's children. Now, bizarrely, it would be up to Australia to return the children to him. And while Tommaso waited, he received threats from Laura's mother, Kate.
This is the message.
And I am going to reveal that you have been watching your daughters when they undress. And I'm going to go to the press with it. And I'm going to tell everybody everything I know.
Do you know where I got his phone number?
No, I don't really care where you got his phone number. I'm just more interested in your. I'm just more interested in your blackmail approach. I mean, is that how?
It's not a blackmail approach. I'm talking about the child.
You are threatening him, saying that you're going to tell everybody that he has been looking at his girls as they get undressed.
Oh, yes. Emily told me that somebody was outside, that he was outside, that he was watching through the window.
That somebody was or Dad was? You go from that to Tommaso?
No, I don't believe that he would ever do anything like that. I think what...
No, but your mother is prepared to tell everybody that's exactly what he's done.
I would not support that if it wasn't true. I don't believe that he would do that.
As if this saga wasn't strange enough, now the children's great-grandmother, Carol, played her role. She went on the run with the children, even recording this video in a secret location.
The reason we don't want to go with our dad back initially is because we are scared of him.
But they were finally found by police. Do you accept that you put them in that position?
No, I didn't.
You absolutely did.
No, I did not.
You absolutely did. You exposed them to the fear that they felt.
They weren't afraid of anything to do with the police. They were afraid of the flight to Italy with their father.
You feel absolutely no responsibility for manipulating them or making them feel frightened?
No, they weren't.
What sort of great-grandmother are you?
They weren't frightened.
Of course.
They were happy with me. They were happy. They were loving the food we were having. They were watching TV. They were drawing.
By that? Aren't you appalled by the situation your children found themselves in?
I'm appalled by the fact that everything went the way it went.
But finally, on October 4 this year, after 2 years in this country, the 4 girls were seized by Australian Federal Police and forced onto flights to Italy.
It was a situation that happened so fast and it was so terrifying, and your kid's screaming, "Mummy, help me," and it's a reaction. How can you control something like that? I don't think that there's a worse situation for any child or mother to happen to them in their whole lives.
I have no doubt about your emotion at that time. I have no doubt about that. And of course, no mother and no child should find themselves in that situation. What I'm asking you is, do you feel any responsibility for putting them in that situation, that your actions put them in that situation? And do you have any regret about that? That's my question.
All Laura did was try to defend herself and save her children from going back into harm's way. That was
Laura.
I blame myself constantly for everything. I blame myself for everything. That's the way I work.
You're blameless.
I started doing that since I was very young. I do blame myself for everything. I'm starting to try and be a bit more realistic. I've tried to talk to the father. I've tried to come to arrangements with him. I've offered him a lot of ways out of this, and he constantly changes his mind and he's not working with me.
Emily, no! No!
In all of this, it's sometimes easy to forget that at its centre are 4 young girls who, through no fault of their own, have been subjected to incredible trauma.
No, Emily! No, no!
And during their first days back in Italy, that trauma was painfully, dramatically obvious.
Please help me, please! No.
The girls say they don't want to live here with you.
Yes, but I think it's not completely true. I think...
This is what your daughter says.
Yeah.
Emily, why won't you listen to us? I do not feel safe with you, but I do with Mum.
Yes, I think is in one moment in the life of Emily to tell her feeling. But when you are younger, your feeling change so many times.
You may not like it, but it would appear to all of us that the girls don't want to be with you.
How is possible to believe in this world? Because the girl have a good relationship with me. The girls love me, and now the girls stay good now and have a normal life. Is the bed of Christine and Ander, Lilian.
The girls didn't want to talk to us. Tommaso says they're still traumatised and that 2 years away from him may be difficult, if not impossible, to make up. He says the girls and he wish Laura would return to Italy and again share in their upbringing. Do the girls miss their mother most at bedtime?
Yes, sometimes I read the book with the girl, the happy story, and we pray for the mother and the family in Australia, and we spoke about the return in Italy, the mother, and I hope the mother come in Italy very soon to stay with the girl, yes, because the girl needed the mother and the father.
So why did you tell them that you couldn't go back to Italy with them? And why are you not back in Italy with them?
I can't go back to Italy because there are criminal proceedings on foot against me for international child abduction, and there is risk of prison. The most likely outcome would probably be probation or home arrest. So I would be a mother in a country where I know nobody. and I don't have a job or a house or any belongings or anything to offer my children, and I'm no good to them in a situation like that.
Despite everything Laura's said about him, Tommaso says he's prepared to forget the past and work with her. But he will never forget what the Australian Embassy did. Forgivable or unforgivable?
For my part, if I'm looking what's happened and the sufferance of the life of my children, for me is unforgivable, very unforgivable.
Do you have any regrets about how you acted in this?
I don't know where to begin on the way everything could have been done so differently. That's a huge question that you ask.
As part of our investigation, we requested to speak with Foreign Minister Bob Carr, his predecessor Stephen Smith, Australia's current ambassador to Italy David Ritchie, and his predecessor Amanda Vanstone. They all refused to be interviewed. The Department of Foreign Affairs has provided a short written response to some of our questions, which you can find on our website.